G'day, punters. Welcome to Victims of the Punt for a very precocious rained out potentially meeting at Randwick. But we've like our sort of daddy is off, but the real daddy, like in great cricket terms too, daddy, the driver head of, was it Ganguly? The boss man of form, one of the two people I probably learnt the most off in my journey so far. Marc Lambourne has been good enough to join us. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Jack. And you've got a fresh victim today. So, look, I'm stepping into the breach. Those of us that grew up on the track and in the ring were just in awe of Mark Sheen. So I'm very, very grateful to be able to take his place here.
Mark, how are you?
I'm very well. Yes.
Sorry.
Very pleased to be on the show with Mark. Mark and I have never actually met, but I've obviously known of Mark's work for a long time, even going back to when I first started concentrating on Sydney racing when I worked at IAS, the late lamented IAS, back in about 2005. And once I was promoted to the Metro racing there, one of my jobs was to put up early markets. And Mark's markets we paid for because they were a crucial second opinion and guide to what to put up. And anyone who's bought Mark's stuff over the years will also be aware that in addition to the assessed price, there's a market assessment as well, which was just invaluable, I found. So great to finally meet you, Mark.
You too, Mark. Your reputation precedes you as well. And of course, we're generally tailing each other on the pro lays at Betfair during the week.
That's right. Yes, you were giving me a hiding in this competition until Wednesday on that horrible track at Canterbury.
Well, we've seen plenty of horrible tracks in Sydney this year. So Sydney yesterday cracked the all-time record for rain. Fortunately, there was a ribbon of rain that was going through the city and down to the airport, and there was 4 inches at the airport, only 1.5 inches at Randwick for the same period, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
How's the park down there in Erskineville?
Racing Rant Park has got no grass, it's just mud.
Oh, God.
So will we get through it, do you think, Mark? I mean, it depends on what happens tomorrow, doesn't it, really?
It does. Look, the intention will be to proceed because obviously the hospitality is a big feature of this particular month, the month of meetings at Randwick. Look, the rain is supposed to come back this afternoon, and then a low-pressure cell forms just off the coast and delivers some wild weather late tomorrow and certainly into Sunday. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed.
As I said at the start of the show, Marc Lambourne's been like a guide and mentor to me and a lot of people who have watched his stuff. If you want to get more of it after you've watched him today, racingrant.com.au.
Either or. It's basically an information hub where we don't have the same sort of focus that you guys have in delivering sort of targeted information. We're more of a community that offers a facility to jump in and out of ideas and chat amongst the community.
Yeah, huge resource if you want to learn more, racingrant.com.au. Boys, so we think there's a chance we get through this meeting, but we're not overly confident. And if we do get to the meeting, let's say we do, hypothetically, what sort of rail? It says an 8-metre rail on Saturday?
Yes. It's 8 metres from the 1,000 to winning post. So effectively, yeah. I mean,
what does that mean pattern-wise? What's our best prediction?
I'm interested to get Mark's thoughts because I'm a bit scared of the meeting back in September when they pushed it out 7 and it was wet. And I wasn't expecting it to play inside and on pace, or inside anyway, and it did for the most part.
Yes, it was a nasty, nasty rail. It had something to do with race morning rain as well, but you would be forgiven for going into the meeting expecting something similar, which is find the rail and leave the rail at your peril.
Yeah.
And certainly on that day, the positions outside lead if you were a good horse, and box seat were just gold.
Yes, that was the horse in the last race, whose name escapes me.
Kiss the Bride.
Kiss the Bride.
This is amazing.
It box seated and looked like it was going to run about 7th at the 200 and just outplugged them because everything else had worse runs than it. It was just it was horrible to watch, and it was a very very dicey track.
Well, the signs were ominous in the first race, the highway, when Prince Niconi, T. Clark speared across lead, and J-Mac appeared to have plenty of horse underneath him, the 3-year-old filly that's going around tomorrow. And you could see it was a real struggle that Prince Nakoni was just in a position of strength. And yes, I mean, I'm hoping it's not like that tomorrow, but I am fearful it is.
With J-Mac headed to the grouse meeting at Caulfield on Saturday, the sun's actually out this morning, which is interesting, but did piss down last night. Who's a rider or two we could focus on as an improver here? Nashville Wheeler has some grouse little Randwick stats on the puntingform.com.au jockey sheet. Is he back and is he ready to sort of maximise that?
First day back for Nash, isn't it? From a short injury let off. Yeah, look, I mean, it's that time of year where the cream rises to the top. I mean, if you go through the last 100 ride stats, etc., on punting form, you'll see a lot of apprentices in there who've sort of made hay during the winter where their claim has come to the fore. Generally, at this time of year, obviously, that doesn't matter as much. But, I would expect, I mean, Nash is the highest profile, biggest name jockey there in the absence of the real big guns, I suppose.
What if you ask RaceNet? Ben Mellum's there. Did you not notice that?
Oh, he's Victorian.
Jay Carr's partner.
Yes, I have heard of him.
Profile-wise, he's number one now.
He's won the odd golden slipper. Profile-wise, yes. I mean, to new idea readers and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But and he has won a golden slipper. I'm sorry, that was a bit disrespectful.
Yes, well, look, no T. Clark either tomorrow. T. Clark, with that rail position and potential pattern in view, would have been a real go-to rider. So you got Nash, which I think you've highlighted the right rider there. Josh Parr is perhaps another one that might find conditions to his liking tomorrow.
Can we go off the script a bit and just want to ask you a question, Marc Lambourne? I think I've picked this up from you where you profile certain riders to suit certain tracks and certain rides. So, like, if it's on pace and inside, then T. Clark, you're going to bonus him just that little bit?
Especially if he's drawn wide, you know what he's doing. He's there has been a suspicion that he's not been as intentful this year, but he's denied that vehemently when that's been put to him. It's just, there are some riders, and Nash is another great example. In fact, he probably taught the others their craft.
Yeah.
Of riders that you know what to expect in situations where you want a horse to go forward from a wide draw.
Cool. Let's kick off. We're going to preview, races 4, 7, and 8, and we're going to start race 4, the Roman Consul Stakes 1200 metre Group 2 for the 3-year-olds. Best of Bordeaux's favourite, $2.80 with readybet.com.au. An Australian-owned and operated bookmaker. Download the app today and gamble responsibly. Always gamble responsibly, but download the app first, then gamble responsibly. So Best of Bordeaux 280, Sweet Ride 750, Natuno 650, and the others longer. Coat scratched. Interesting. Speed map, boys. Thoughts? This is
just before we get to the speed map, you've left about half the market there. I see you skipped Sajardin because you didn't want to pronounce it.
Yeah. Oh, you should have seen what I did yesterday to Zapateo. I still can't say
it. You missed Zuccarino, who's in the market, and the filly down the bottom, Malinga Beast, is at $5.50, I believe. So, yes, Zuccarino and Malinga Beast should be added to that market. But, yes, Mark, your view on the map?
Well, he's a keen bean. Best of Bordeaux. Sweet Ride will obviously hold his position down along the inside. Best of Bordeaux expected to cross. And if Sweet Ride either trails him or pops outside, Wallinga Beast with the blinkers on back in distance won't be far away. And I had one of Natuno or Zuccarino looking for 1-1 if that's available, possibly going back to midfield. The blue colours, Celis and Sajardin, I'd map back.
Yeah, I was worried where Natuno gets to from the outside barrier, despite the small field. With Tommy Berry in the saddle, he's going to have to make a decision pretty early, I think, or he could be posted. And if that's if the rail plays how we suspect it might, that could be a problem for him.
Yeah, so look, these 3-year-olds, they've sort of battled around. Sweet Ride has been the giant killer of the spring so far, because of course he won the race at big odds, and then he put it to Best of Bordeaux when they last clashed. Best of Bordeaux eventually came back underneath for J-Mac, but I'm looking at the filly here. She's Snitzel back on pretty deep ground, and I really like the blinkers on back in distance, taking the park. So I didn't have a real strong opinion in the race, but I certainly mark Wallinga Beast a bit shorter than she is currently.
Rhoden?
Yeah, I have too. I'm just about sick of her. I was on her off the big Canterbury win in the Percy Sykes, something I don't usually like doing, back in Canterbury form in a race like that at Randwick. But it was so impressive a back that she went very close to beating Paris Dior, and I thought that race went very well. So since those fillies have reappeared in the spring, I've fallen into that form with both of them on numerous occasions now and yet to collect. But this does look like her chance. With the blinkers on, it feels like D-Day. Wet track, Randwick 1200, they all look like ticks. I think you can wear $5.50, you can get $6. I think that's probably a bet in this race. Best of Bordeaux, look, he's run second in the Golden Slipper on a heavy track. I don't think that'll be his problem. If it's paying mad on pace, he's obviously the one to beat. But at the price, I'd rather be with Blinga Beast, with that caveat about watching how the track plays.
With Best of Bordeaux's SP profile map, what sort of price do you guys predict he starts, Mark?
Well, it clearly depends on what's happened in the 3 races prior, but
read the pattern.
Yeah, look, I've put down $5 to $3.50 as an expected price on a 100% market at the moment. But yeah, it's it's an interesting race because they've all been banging around at Rose Hill for most of their careers as well. So we don't have any Randwick creds to use here, other than obviously the filly being at Randwick recently through the series and back in the autumn.
Could I just get a view from you, Mark, on what you thought of that win at Goulburn, I think it was, of Sallis?
Look, it was a country meeting. It wasn't a provincial meeting. No. So, I referenced its first start where it raced at Canterbury, raced on the rails and didn't really flutter. So, it's one of those sort of lurking types that you're looking. It obviously acts as fresh blood in this race, a bit of fresh meat. But given that I'm expecting the track to play up and in, I didn't consider it.
It almost gets rid of it, doesn't it?
Imagine owning a maiden and going to Goulburn, thinking, "Oh, this is a nice race for us." Here comes the sheep. Honestly,
that is
how bad would that be?
That's a byproduct of $30,000 maidens in all over the state.
We had another roller coaster today with the bloodstock business. Boss Queen stood on a nail this morning in his scratch. He was a $2.10 favourite in a low race.
Right, so today was her day, by the sounds of it, and no longer.
It looked a 2-horse race in a 5-horse field, and disappointing. But we had the high of last Friday night. Mark, did you watch any of the Valley? Did you see Keats running around at $1.90?
I'm going to have to go back and watch the replay because Friday night's not my scene, but it sounds like it was yours.
It was the most nervous I've ever been on a racetrack. Like shitting myself. Gavin Bedgegood, Jesus Bedgegood, as we call him, our trainer, he was more nervous, I think. Like he was trying to suck the filter out of his darts. Going that hard at him. But Craig Williams was like a veteran, like the quarterback. Just calmed us all down. Pre and post race, such an operator. But a huge thrill. We head to Caulfield on Wednesday, so might go the Coonji, but probably won't, and we'll go to a benchmark 78 at Caulfield on Wednesday. So
they are the group race springboards, the benchmark 78s. It's been the thing in the last couple of years.
See, this is a whole new world. It's fascinating. So if you go to the good race and run a good race, you jump 20 ratings points.
I know,
and you miss out on all the prize money. So
no one can seem to tell the handicapper what's what, and they're desperate to maintain this pattern racing that's got these high ratings. And of course, horses that run well in these pattern races have to get high ratings in order to justify the whole stack of cards.
Yeah, so it's a bloody tricky decision. Anyway, the next race we're going to look at is race number 7, the Gloaming Stakes, 800 metres, Group 3. For the 3-year-olds, again, this speed map looks chaotic, very, very chaotic. Do we have any opinions here that we want to stamp early?
Well, first of all, the 1800 starts on a bend. You got the rail out 8 metres. You'll look at the start going, holy Christ! I wouldn't want to be much wider than gate 1 from that particular start. So it's nasty in that sense. Also, there's not a lot of established speed. I imagine that the New Zealander will hop out. And I had Monastery and Madame Adet, the Toowoomba winner, heading forward, but not much else. Perhaps Nash will give his horse a dig up to stay there from gate 1, and Bunker Hut, who's lightly raced coming home for the first time, not that far away. But it's a bit ugly in terms of a race shape.
Rhoden, any thoughts here, like map wise? Like you got to readybet.com.au, download that, gamble responsibly. $3.60 Williamsburg, who backs up after a pretty good win last week. This map looks horrendous.
Apologise for suggesting we look at this race in a truncated preview show. You asked me last night what races should we look at. This was one of the features I suggested. It is nightmarish. I don't have an opinion. First glance, after I saw a market, I saw Williamsburg was favourite, backing up off a good win on a wet track, which he loves. Well, he's got to be favourite. He's drawn very wide. And Sharp and Smart, which has got the political debate form line, is pretty close to him. So I was originally thinking, well, we have to be with Williamsburg there, but there's no way you could back him early. He is going to be last or very close to it.
Well, because you told me we're doing this race and I'm coming back to the professor, I thought I'd like put something forward. Flag of Honour has an SP profile versus some of these horses that says he's a big price here, but he has a tricky map.
Yeah, but he's got the man, Jay Collett, to pick his way through. So if you are, we talked about riders earlier and what you can expect from riders. Jay Collett is another man that you know what you're going to get. Jay Collett, if he's going to be conservative early stages, he will go back and find the fence. He'll find the way through. K-Mac, I think you can be pretty sure will ride his horse like he did last week. That was on the true rail. I'd say the best ground was probably 6 horses off last week. And you also had a bit of a field inversion there where the last 3 on the turn finished 1, 2, 3. So, I think it's a tricky race for Williamsburg. I'm glad he's in the race because he provides a point of contention. The JJ Atkins form has been a bit troublesome this preparation, hasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it has. The last 2 winters, I haven't been particularly enamoured of the Queensland form, and this year's not shaping up much different. Is this the race? It is. This is the race Head of State beat Profondo in last year, isn't it?
Yeah, it was at Rosehill last year. They've shifted it because they've shifted the Spring Champion Stakes back 2 weeks. And they've got rid of the Bondi. The Bondi is now rebadged as the Stan Fox, which is called the Calendar Presnell, I think, in 2 weeks. There's a lead up tomorrow, the Tap Craig.
Oh, yes.
So, we've got a slightly different, we've got a reorganised calendar, and the gloaming is now at Randwick. But, I mean, yet again, both tracks have a tricky start at the 1,800 metres.
Yeah, I suppose the Bondi had to go, but that's anyway. I just saw, Jack, you were about to jump out of your chair when I mentioned Head of State. Why was that?
He'd speed it by about 6 lengths on Friday night.
Last Friday night, yeah.
Yeah, he's covered himself in glory, Head of State. Well, he's a bit like Kubrick. I think wasn't Kubrick 2 years between drinks after winning the inaugural ill-fated Bondi?
When he bent the rail in to get her air.
I'll be Abdullah, that's right.
Yeah, cash is king.
That's right.
Any thoughts, guys? Captain Pluto comes through a Bendigo race where the horse that went around yesterday at Mornington in a big field, $1.50 chance, was heavily backed. Couldn't win at any point. Got through his gears pretty well. Is it a chance?
Yeah, look, there is a big number attached to his last win, which because I'm unfamiliar with that form, I'm not bagging. But of course, he needs, what does he need? 4 scratchings to get a run. So, I wasn't paying him a lot of attention at this stage.
Okay.
The Kiwi Graham Rogerson returns to Sydney. I had to start with it simply because it was map positive, and it did start very short, very tight in the JJ Atkins, which I mentioned. The other horse that you mentioned, Jack, was Flag of Honour, who Huey spent a lot of time trying to get away from gate 1 last week. As you mentioned, he started the same price as Williamsburg, and I think he was in the wrong spot. So I went to him as a danger in this race, simply because he's a bit more, he's lightly raced. So he's just third up into this race off a 7-day backup, and I imagine that the rider is more likely to find the right lane if needed.
So he's basically a case Flag of Honour if we see that they're getting on and making some ground.
Well, these are 3-year-olds and early 3-year-olds, and so whilst we've said, there doesn't look to be a lot of speed in the race, we're putting together a full field, and most of them are seeing the 1,800 for the first time, so they do get keener than you would otherwise like, perhaps.
I suppose just to mention Promito, who's got barrier 1 and his best ever run was on a heavy track. 550 looks
Yeah, I mean, the horse. I mean, if you look at the Golden Rose horses, Political Debate and Brosnan were heavily restrained out, whereas Prometto sort of used his low draw just to settle a bit in front of them and save some ground. I certainly didn't think his run was any better than the other two, if at all.
Yeah,
that's enough there. Race 7, guys.
I would say so.
Race 8, Silver Eagle, 1,300 metres. This is a fascinating race. Mr. Mozart, $3.60. Readybet.com.au. Download the app. Gamble responsibly. Waterford, $7. Star Tontes was backed into $5 before the barrier draw in the final field stuff. Now it's out to 9s. Valena 9s, longer the rest. I don't understand how Mr. Mozart's so short. We'll get to that later on. This speed map looks a little bit more standard. And again, there's a bit of Melbourne form here with the highest profile rider at the meeting. Not the best, but the highest profile rider, Benny Mellon. Benny Mellon and Jay Carr, different cities. They're going to talk about it. We're not. But he's going to lead on this horse, Lavish Girl, is he not?
I thought Lavish Girl was the leader, yet with Mr. Mozart having to come across from 18. How did you see it, Mark?
Well, there's a ton of backmarkers in this race, isn't there? I mean, you line up the 4-year-olds that are obviously auditioning for the Golden Eagle, and I was astonished at how little speed there is. Lavish Girl looks a bit of an ant on her Melbourne form, but she looks to get an easy lead there. Mr. Mozart, I'm a bit concerned that Willie Pike seemed to make a lot of the fact that he didn't want to get this horse revved up because he ended up pulling his way up 3 deep. But I guess Gunn will have he'll have a clue as to what to do. Valana looks to get a perfect run just in behind the speed there. So I'd say I had Lavish Girl leading, Mr. Mozart and Valana box seating. And there's just no other speed there.
Mm. Does something like Brigantine settle closer from a low
It does indeed. Ridden off the pace there from a wide gate when the conveyor belt was operating, and as you say, fresh, still fresh off second up off a long spell. Brigantine will be handy enough.
Can Lavish Girl win? I think it's a bet here. I think the thing that beat it in Melbourne will win the last.
That's Zapateo.
Yeah,
Didn't want to say its name.
Didn't want to say its name, but I think it's it'll start at $1.80, I think, in the last at Caulfield, and this thing swims.
Yeah, okay, but she does seem to have had some very, very sympathetic race shapes for her, and it's nice to think that here she is, second up, getting an easy lead. But I thought her form was a little bit hollow.
Yep, fair.
Yeah, that was my issue with her. It certainly gets all favours, or appears to get all favours. Yeah, I just thought this is. Look, I'm certainly not saying she can't win, because she is going to be really, really perfectly suited, and she may well get away with it. But I just thought this is a far stronger race than a far stronger field than those she's been meeting in Melbourne.
Have we got any bets then in this race, guys?
I'd just be against Mr. Mozart. I thought this was a $6-7 a field race when I finished it, and I thought around 11-4 was quite short enough, even though it does look to be outside lead and will get its chance. That was a funny race, the race that Dicko won, because he looked like he was going to run about fifth at the 200, maybe, and then was coming again on the line, but he certainly hit a flat spot for about 150 metres. It was a
looks very dodgy form. Ellsberg had to then find a fresh platform to come off to run his race in the Epsom. There's that query over him. Interesting that you're playing bookie. It seems like the right hat to wear, but Valana was the horse that caught my eye. Resuming off the Stradbroke, blue fresh, Nash on board, and a positive map. It is the horse that I would be looking to back in the race. Of course, we've got some super promising horses. I mean, Lock Eagle, you don't do that at Canterbury, what he did first up, and he's obviously got form through Mr. Mozart and Valana. And Waterford beat a poor team there at Rose Hill last start and is coming back in distance, but has done everything that's been asked of him. It's a cracking race. And then, Espiona is going to run double figures tomorrow. She hasn't run longer than bloody 2-1 in her life.
It's, the Sydney racing public have finally got sick of her, it appears. She has been...
Talk about hollow form. Like, the whole profile's built off her bashing up nothing at Flemington.
On Oaks Day, yeah.
Everyone was watching.
I said after that race, not entirely seriously, but I think I used the word winks after that win, and have gone on to rather silly.
Well, the other thing is that she has done enough to get you in. They talk about Zach Crawley being the English opener that just manages to score enough runs when required to stay in the team. Well, Espiona's win at the end of the Carnival and the Car Stakes was a bit like that as well. You know, she was there. She was, she is as good as we thought.
Yeah.
But alas, no.
And drawn car park as well. There's a lot against it. Waterford, I think, is a very nice horse, but is the pattern going to suit him? He's leading Sydney bookie Dave Dwyer's in the ownership. Friend of mine, I hope can get
Shane Philippek as well. That's got a real bookie association.
Yes, I hope for those guys it can run top three and get into the Golden Eagle for them. On ability, I think it certainly could, but pattern is going to be the key, I fear, tomorrow.
Yes, well, I mean, certainly, if I wasn't aware of its requirement to get into the field, because it's obviously looking to get back to Rosehill in 1500, and this seems just like a mid-prep trial for it. Yeah, but it does need to run a place to guarantee a spot in the field anyway. But this is not the only $1 million barrier trial we see in Sydney at this time of year. The Premier Stakes has run. There are a few of them. Yes, that's who knew there were that much money in trials.
Oh, yeah, you shouldn't complain about trials in Sydney.
Oh, no, yes. I do apologise for that. Every time I watch a Victorian preview show or your review show and you're talking about slogging through those bloody jump outs with no...
I get travel sickness watching it.
The Flemington jump outs are horrible. Where that camera is.
They're the best ones.
And they're the best.
And they're hard to watch. Yeah, I agree. I've tackled the last two-year-old races tomorrow at Caulfield and last week at Flemington, and it's not pretty.
It's time travel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolute time travel. All right, boys. Best bets? Anything for the punters at home for the meeting at Randwick on Saturday?
I don't have a best bet at this stage. I am, if they're on, as we do this every week at Ready Bet, we go top odds a favourite in Melbourne and Sydney. Mr. Mozart will be the favourite. We're best price all day about. So no tricks, no promotions there, no money back for that. But if you want to get the best price in the market, come and see us.
All right. Well, I'm a bookender. I like the weaker races to try and target. The highway, it's got many runners at this stage. There is a country trainer called Danielle Sieb who overperforms to buggery. She's got King of Spades, who I did tip in the highway last time. He's got a great chance, but the stablemate Alma Hero is second up, Jay Collett, and looks to get a very favourable map there. So Alma Hero in the first, and Feel the Night comes off a highway run into a 1,000-metre benchmark 78. Now, the 1,000-metre races in Sydney are never proper Saturday races. There's something about the distance that either affects the field or affects the form, but Feel the Night really should have won last start. He was best to begin, dragged back, and then had trouble getting a run and then flew at the line. That's a pretty weak race, the last race, with enough speed. Rachel King's just got to poke him through there. And he's my finisher. So that's 11 in the last, race 10, and race 1, number 13, Alma Hero. Does have a bit of a Wednesday feel about it, that race 10, doesn't it?
I am race 7, number 7, Flag of Honour each way. I think you'll get a improved performance at a big price. Boys, absolute pleasure. Feel safe. Great cricketer, safe. With you back on the show, Mark. Honestly, it's been a pleasure.
You're welcome, Dicko. You guys are doing a great job, and keep doing what you're doing.
Again, if you want to hear more of Mark, which you should, head to the Racing Rant. You find him on Twitter. They've got your YouTube channel. They've got all sorts of packages where you can get Mark's stuff, assess prices. I couldn't tip it big enough if you want to evolve yourself as a punter and understand what happens and what doesn't happen and what's going to happen, and just the little pearls you pick up just watching the pearl up. But you do pick up pearls just watching and listening. I've just picked up one there. If I get another horse, we might be sending it to Danielle Sieb. Where's she train out of?
Goulburn.
Oh, Christ. So she
gets the yeah, so we look. A lot of our content is behind a paywall, but there is 2 weeks where you don't have to pay anything, so you get a chance to look at our stuff and get amongst it. I mean, the beauty of both social media and YouTube, etc., in the last 15 years has been the ability to communicate some of the stuff that the mainstream media will never touch. So it's been a great journey for all of us involved in talking talking the passion that we all have for this great game.
A little bit like the punting form stuff. Like, spend the money on yourself, learning. It's the same stuff with the rant. So couldn't tip it hard enough. Boys, thank you so much for a very enjoyable show for us. Hope you guys enjoyed it at home. Rob Scurry, airborne, completely airborne. He'll be very, very, very much in his own head today. God almighty, with the rain, and is he going, is he not going? But it is only down the road. So if you want to get involved, mailbag.com.au. Have a great weekend and bye for now.